TEDx, the infamous or more famous red carpet, right? If there's one thing that I recognize, especially after Sharon got out of here, this thing is not equally proportionate, right? She's like 5 foot 120. I'm like 6'6", 320. But I did find out how to remedy this thing though, maybe guys. One, we thought about increasing the carpet, and obviously that's just not going to happen. So my suggestion was, I do have an allotted amount of time, but to make this thing equally proportionate, maybe I need to pick one of you guys out there to tackle or wrestle to give me some more time. But guys, more than recently in our national conversation, we've all heard this thing about the participation trophies, right? You get some people on one side saying we shouldn't give kids participation trophies because it's not going to teach them the valuable lessons of that side. And then you get the other side saying, well, you know what? Everyone should get a trophy for the values that those people on that side hold valuable. And I stand in the middle and I say, you know what? I think there's another part of this. Because I don't think that the ultimate reward actually is a trophy. See, I honestly believe that the true measure of a man is not how he ends up in his journey, but the true measure of a man is how he overcomes the obstacles on the way to that finish line. See, guys, growing up, being born and raised in Youngstown, Ohio, graduating from Youngstown, Ursuline, I did get a little bit of athletic prowess by the help of Dick Angle and Roland Smith and some other people that seen some potential in me. I became a top defensive lineman in the entire country. And you guys heard the stories, right? You get colleges coming from all over the country trying to convince you and your family and your friends to come to their school because of that potential. Well, in high school, my dream was actually to get my college degree through Ohio State University using athletics. So when Ohio State rang that doorbell, guys, listen, I answered that thing. I chose to go to the biggest and best university, in my opinion, in the entire world. When I got there, everything was perfect, man. It was almost like I couldn't even imagine it to be any better for 1 week. Because after my first week there, guys, I found out that I tore up my knee. I had to have a reconstructive ACL surgery. Now, the tragedy for me, guys, as a young adult, wasn't so much that I tore up my knee, but the tragedy for me is that when I was at what I would have considered one of the lowest points of my life, and I needed those people who promised me, who sat in my living room and told my mom and my dad that they would be there for me through the good times and the bad times, they were nowhere to be found. It felt as if they kind of left me to fend for myself. But what it did for me, it helped me realize one of the most important lessons that I live with today. And what that did for me is that made me look in the mirror and say, Jimmie, you have to trust and believe in the most valuable person in your life every day. And as a young adult, I had to come to the conclusion that I was the most valuable person in my life every day because I was the only one who could make any of the choices and decisions that was going to make sure that I overcame those obstacles. See, guys, what I understood is that I had the highest value. And if I understood that I had that highest value, then I became that invincible currency. If I could understand that I was the invincible currency, then it means that I had a right to make an exchange. In my journey, guys, there were 3 tremendous exchanges that were made to help form me, and I still live with these exchanges every day. The first exchange, guys, that I learned in my journey was to take responsibility for my legacy. I had to learn to take responsibility for my own legacy. See, guys, I believe our legacy is how will each and every one of us choose to be remembered for the rest of our lives. How will we choose to be remembered according to our actions, according to our activity, and according to our attitude? Not based upon what other people make up. I'm not talking about your misjudgment about me based upon my size, where I'm from, the color of my skin, my ethnicity. Nah, I'm talking about the honest interaction that I had with you. That's my legacy. And the power behind my legacy is I'm the only one responsible for how I'll choose to be remembered for the rest of my life. The second exchange, guys, that I made in that journey is that I had to learn to fight for my journey. I had to learn to fight for that dream. One thing that I understood is that everything in that journey was not going to work out exactly the way that I wanted it to. Everything wasn't going to look exactly the way I thought it should look at any given time. And honestly, believe it or not, the one I work on the most is, I don't always believe I have what it takes to overcome those obstacles all the time. But the exchange that I understood and I learned was that when things aren't working the way that I want to, when things aren't looking the way that I think they should look, and when I'm also not so confident about things, I'm still responsible for doing whatever it takes to make sure that I overcome those obstacles. You know, guys, one thing, I'm not a big cliche guy at all, but we've heard a couple of them, right? Like our life journey isn't like a 100-meter dash, right? We've heard that, right? Our life journey, guys, is more like a marathon. I said, shoot, give me either one, right? Because we know our journeys are rough. I said our lives aren't like either one. Our lives are more like a steeplechase, right? Our lives are more like a steeplechase. We get into a journey, we actually know what the finish line is, but as we complete each lap, we're responsible for jumping over every single hurdle that we already know that's going to be there. So you know what? We wake up in the morning, we're not feeling good. Jump over the hurdle. You know what? I just don't feel it today. We jump over the hurdle. You know what? My kids are getting on my nerves. Jump over the hurdle, right? How about I just I'd vertical jump over that thing with the kids, right? And then you get to the end of the lap, and then you have the biggest obstacle that comes into your life. Who knows what those obstacles could be? Before I got here, I found out that one of the most prominent community leaders in this community ended up losing his life last night. For someone, that's a major obstacle. But for somebody, they still have to find a way to get over that obstacle. Because check it out. Once they have the courage to even get over that major obstacle, they're going to be a little more irritated because they're going to find that maybe they have to fall into 4 feet of water, if you guys know what the steeplechase is. And I bet you that person still has the courage to come out of that water and continue running, and then they have to overcome the fact that it actually is a little harder because my feet are heavier because they're waterlogged with probably 2 pounds more of water in each foot. This ain't like no 100-meter dash. It's not like a marathon. Life is like a steeplechase. And the exchange is that we have a right to fight for that journey. The third exchange, guys, that I got from my journey is that I learned to live my life with as light of a what-if bag as possible. See, guys, for me, the what-if bag are opportunities that I've come across in my life that I personally didn't put everything into. I didn't put all of my heart into that opportunity. One of the most notable ones, guys, to be totally honest with you, was my professional football career. when I had the opportunity to live that dream, just like every single one of you guys in this room will once or twice or many other times in your life, you'll have an opportunity one day to live that dream. Man, to be honest with you, I didn't put everything into it. I tried to do just the minimum to get by. I actually thought doing just the minimum would be enough. I found out early that doing just the minimum won't get you a whole lot close to anything that you want to do in your life. So now when I see my friends play, football season's cranking up, on Sundays and Thursdays and Mondays, I say to myself, man, Jim, what if you just would have put everything into that opportunity? Who knows how things would have ended up? But you know what? I don't know now. Now understand, guys, the what if bag has nothing to do with how things are going to end up for us. The what if bag is your promise and commitment to yourself that you're going to put everything you have into any opportunity you choose and every opportunity that comes your way. Guys, the idea that I want you to consider after today is to receive the fact that every single one of us in this room, we're our own invincible currency. If we can believe that we're our own invincible currency, then we have a right to make those exchanges. We have a right to take responsibility for our legacy. We have a right to fight for that dream and fight for that journey. And we have a right, guys, to live our lives with as light of a what if bag as possible. TEDx, thank you so much, and God bless you.